Good to have you back on TVC News Hour. Let's now bring in the Commissioner of Police who joins me here in the studio to talk more on the Igbonla release. Thank you very much for coming here in our studio to talk about this very happy story, I can put it that way now. Well done, first of all, on the success recorded.
Thank you.
How much information are you willing to release on the efforts so far of the concerted efforts of the team that brought about the success of the release of the boys?
I believe, and of course I know that TVC had that press conference live, and the much information that we should give out had been given out by their excellencies that were present there. And of course, from the response to some of the questions that were asked during that press briefing. So I won't know how much more you want to hear.
Okay, we all heard that. That's a given. We all had that press conference. But considering the rise in kidnap cases recently, one cannot maintain status quo anymore. What is the broader policy initiative of the government and, of course, security agencies to curb the issue of kidnapping in the states? I
must first correct that statement, that assertion that there's a rise in cases of kidnapping. I know for once that from the statistics that we have, it's not about rise in the cases of kidnapping, but more discussion on cases of kidnapping. That is what has been happening. From what has happened, from what Nigerians have witnessed, and all other successes that the security agencies have been letting out, you would all agree that we have a responsive government, we have a responsible government that has been alive to the responsibilities of providing safety and security for her people. And of course, there is nowhere that you won't have a crime, except you don't have human habitation in such places. With what has happened, we've seen the support of a responsible government to efforts of the security operatives that were involved in that. We've also seen good Nigerians understanding, especially the parents of those children who did not allow that trauma, to push them into things that they should not do. And we've also seen good people in this country who showed understanding, who jointly, with their prayers have been supporting the security agencies, which culminated in this. And we've seen a leadership that is responsive, that had come out to say, oh, we do everything possible to support activities of security agencies to ensure that those children are gotten out alive without any of them sustain any injury whatsoever. And that is all about it.
Okay, that's quite gladdening to hear. But with a school like Epe that has fallen victim twice, what have you and your team learned in policing a cosmopolitan city like Lagos?
Everything that happens in our daily lives are lessons learned. From what has happened, yes, that school is suffering that for the second time. Everyone will be required to play his or her own part. The citizens, the government, the security agencies. And we're doing that. We've gone back to the drawing board. We've looked at the terrain, which is actually a challenge. In those days, it would be appropriate to locate schools in certain areas that we say are quiet, far away to the city center, that would say make them to be conducive for learning. But we are evolving. Lagos and some of the other states are turning into big cities where when you want to locate schools or you want to locate businesses, you need to do a threat analysis. waters swamp that used to be as if they are shielding some of these schools before have now become sources of challenges to us.
Okay, if you allow me quickly, Button, talking about that drawing board, what's there for that school, particularly the Igbonla College? Because to avoid a case of, to avoid a recurrence, when our reporter visited last, she mentioned how vulnerable the school still is. So what's the security situation there to avoid a recurrence of such an event?
As I mentioned to you, we've gone into the drawing board. It's not just Igbonla Model School. All the schools have been captured, not only.
So when are we
Lagos.
going to be seeing the effects or the implementations of those measures we expect?
After the Igbonla incident, you recall that we've not had any incident in any school. It is, when things have not happened, when no crime is reported, the citizens don't appreciate the efforts that have been made in prevention. So many cases have been prevented, and the Inspector General of Police has directed that all commissioners of police, all schools are being looked at holistically. And we are working with the communities, we are working with the various state governments to ensure that we have safer schools. Okay,
let's look at the efforts from your part now. That's the Nigerian police, particularly Lagos chapter. We had reports that you lost some men. Clarify that for us, and if so, how many?
In the course of this
rescuing the boys,
this operation, there was a soft and hard whatever approaches. Immediately after the incident, swift response that was made with a view to ensuring that the children were not taken out of where we could control their activities. One way or the other, the kidnappers launched offensive at security operatives, and the joint effort of security operatives led to about 17 of those kidnappers, including the one that led the operation to go and pick those children from the school. That effort led to the death of 17 of the kidnappers, with their 2 boats sunk in the water, where they had where they had ambushed security operatives that were, that were going after them when those children were kidnapped. Unfortunately, in furtherance of our efforts to ensure that community police in partnership with the members of the public come to play, we have the civilian volunteers who are familiar with the terrain, and we lost one of them in the process. 4 of them were injured, and we also had 7 of our policemen that were injured. But as I've indicated earlier, we got the support of a government that is responsible, a government that supports efforts of security operatives that came in quickly to ensure that we were able to give good treatment to those people that were injured. Aside that, in this operation, it's the criminal element that actually, paid the price for their criminal acts. Okay,
with this being revealed, does it mean no ransom was paid?
We've always said it, that we've moved beyond talking of ransom. When you talk of ransom, what you call ransom, we may call them baits in our home palace, but the more you talk about money and attach to crimes, that criminals benefit from crimes, you are glamorizing crimes. That is, we've moved beyond that. There are ways that security operatives all over the world handle these things, and I want to tell you that for all incidents of this nature that the security agencies have been involved with, the best practices, the way it will be done in any part of the world, are the ways that the security agencies have been handling them.
So in other words, in clarification, no ransom was exchanged in this Igbonla case?
If you say so.
I'm asking you.
What I'm saying is that we are not talking about ransom here. What we are talking about was that an operation was launched. I have told you the effort that also cost the criminals, the greatest losses ever in the history of kidnapping. And people have also asked, why did it take so long? Because we have a responsible government. We have responsible security agencies that don't want to sacrifice the lives of those children. Her objective is that do everything possible to get the children alive, unhurt, and that is exactly what has happened.
All right, we'll leave it here for now. And while commending you on this success recorded, we'd like to encourage that, of course, those measures in the drawing board be implemented as soon as possible to safeguard the states. Well done. Thank you very much for your time with us on the News Hour.
Thank you for having me.
And now we'll take a short break and bring you business news on CVC News Hour. Stay with us.